Phil, what do you want to do this week?
Go back to Blips and Chitz! Hello and welcome to the Nerd Card. I'm Phil.
I'm Chuck.
We're getting right into Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 2.
That is correct.
And in this one, we're visiting a familiar place.
Yeah.
Blips and Chitz. Which is very difficult to say if you're not really thinking about it. So,
or paying attention to it or saying it in front of you. Yeah, sure.
Story starts out, and the first thing I noticed is I'm watching the episode, I'm like, man, they're really not even trying to hide the fact that he does all the voices.
Oh, well.
They all sound like Morty.
Well,
weird.
Yeah, because they all are Morty. Hey, you kids, stop doing bad things in front of my store.
And they respond as Morty because they are all Morty.
Whatever, man.
It threw me for a loop at first.
Yeah. Me too.
But then, of course, you get into it and you realize, exactly what's going on in the episode. A really cool thing about that is that going back to Blips and Chitz references the very same episode that they referenced in the first episode of this season.
Before they played Roy, which is what is being referenced in this episode, which they're playing again.
Yep.
They took Jerry to the Jerry Barrie.
Yes.
Before they played Roy.
And that's episode 2 of season 2.
Yeah.
So deep cut again.
And Rick loves Blips and Chitz. I mean, it's not the only time it's been mentioned in the series. They've talked about it in other episodes throughout the season. So that's Rick's space Dave and Buster's that he loves.
It's fake. Get out of my brain. Because I was just going to say he probably goes about as often as I take my son to Dave and Buster's, which is fairly often.
Exactly. Now,
yeah.
I don't think there's ever been anyone pulling a Diehard when you've been at Dave and Buster's.
Not that I was aware of. No.
Yeah, I mean, that would be not as much fun.
No, it wouldn't. But Summer is pulling a Diehard despite having not seen Diehard. Chuck's pulling a Diehard.
Right here. Yippee-ki-yay. You know how that ends, so I won't say it.
Summer says it in the episode. So.
She does. Yeah, she's walkie-talkie.
Yeah. Which is then reiterated by the Hans Gruber of the episode, played brilliantly by Peter Dinklage.
I wish I was the monster you think I am.
It was so cool because I'm like, man, I know that voice. Man, I know that voice. And it happens so frequently with Rick and Morty, right? Man, I know that voice. And then you get to the end credits and go, that's who it was.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened the first time I watched this episode. I'm like, yeah, it's Peter Dinklage. I mean, it sure is.
The list of people who have guest voiced on Rick and Morty is extensive.
It's longer than my arm.
We both love Tyrion Lannister. Peter Dinklage famously played Tyrion Lannister, and he does a great job as Hans Gruber, essentially.
Yeah.
In this episode.
He has what was the book he had called? The Nakatomi Paradigm?
Yeah, the Nakatomi Paradigm. Yeah.
It's like his Bible. Because
it's
crime Bible.
Across all civilizations, across all dimensions, everyone has a diehard.
They didn't make Space Beverly Hillbillies.
Well, Rick's jokes can't land.
Space Beverly Hillbillies.
Exactly. As long as he's making diehard jokes, they can land.
That was a really fun aspect to see in the show. It's actually a weird reference to religions, organized religions, really, when you think about it, is that they believe that. That there are different religious stories are very similar because they're imprinted into human DNA.
Sure.
And that's kind of a reference to that.
Man, Chuck diving deep. And you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. There's been tons of studies in that.
Yeah.
And if you really look at the stories of religions, they are very, very similar.
Absolutely. So I think, again, Rick and Morty very sneakily kind of put some views into things that you aren't necessarily thinking about, and they're just kind of throwing them out there at you.
Sure.
Subconsciously.
Well, and that's just it. Rick and Morty is a very intelligently written show. So
super intelligent. Yeah.
You have to think that somewhere in the writer's room they went, maybe that's what that is.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Now, something that's a little bit debatable whether or not this was intentional is at the end of the episode when Rick finally does pull Morty out of Roy, Morty's a little bit different.
Well, he leaves...
You're fine leaving 8% of me to die?
He sure does. That percentage is the distrusting part of Morty. It begs the question, did Rick do that purposefully?
Yeah, and I don't think it's as much as it initially could have been. At one point of Morty Marta is loading everyone onto the spaceships. And so what the percentage actually is that stays behind, because she actually stays behind, is debatable. Phil did point out, he said, well, it was intentional by Rick. It probably is. Because Rick doesn't do anything that's not calculated typically.
That's true.
On very rare occasion.
The only reason I say that is because he left it with a battery backup just to preserve that part of Morty. Now, maybe he did that.
Which was another reference to Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. just put it anywhere. It's all digitally cataloged.
Exactly.
As he's walking away, and then just stops and puts it off to the side. That was a really cool reference too. Maybe he did it intentionally to have a more pliable Morty, or maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe he just wanted to save that part of Morty so that he could save him later.
More as we think about it, I think he just wants a more pliable Morty to do the things that Rick wants to do.
That
Rick
does sound more Rick.
An extraordinarily self-centered human. Individual.
That does certainly sound more like Rick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Chuck, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up on Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 2. But you know what? We want to know what you think.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments below. Remember, the likes are free. So go ahead and like the video. Share us with all your nerd friends so they can join in the party as well. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that good stuff, Twitter.
We're out there.
We are out there. With that, we will say,
What's on your nerd card?